Hello there. In this video we're going to speak about fear, specifically fear of wild camping and how to overcome it, or at least how to live with it. So if you're interested, keep watching. The other day I was speaking with a friend and he told me he would be very afraid of doing the CDT, the Continental Divide Trail in the USA, because of the bears. I've heard a lot of times people telling me, I don't do this and that because I'm afraid of it. Well, the truth is, if you look at it closely, you don't do this and that because you choose not to face your fears, because you choose letting fear prevent you from doing those things you love, or because you choose allowing fear to dictate the activities you can or you cannot do. So eventually, as you can see, it's a choice. There is a relation between your fears and the things you like to do. And usually you like doing things that you're not afraid of. But there are other times where you know exactly you would like to do something, but you choose not to do it because you're afraid of it. So you're choosing to let fear controlling the things you can or you cannot do. So in this video, we're going to speak about how to overcome that.
Fear is with me all the time, and I just go forward and forward, and I'm scared. I keep going.
I've done a lot of wild camping by now, and believe it or not, I was quite afraid of the idea of doing wild camping because you see, fear is in your mind. So it's often the idea that makes you afraid. It's not the real thing. Once you go and face your fears, you tend to discover that the real thing wasn't so frightening. It's just in your mind. It looks a lot worse than it is in reality. And here I am, and sometimes I'm afraid of wild camping, depending on many factors, depending on the place where I am, depending on how tired I am, or how miserable, or how the day went, you name it. What hasn't changed is my attitude. I still choose to face my fears, and I still choose not to let those fears dictate what I can do, or I choose not to let those fears prevent me from doing something I love. So I'm going to tell you what I do, and hopefully, in the case that you're also afraid of wild camping, like me sometimes, and you can do something similar, or you can take it from there, and maybe you can end up wild camping like me happily and having awesome nights in the field. The first thing to say is that being afraid is very human, as you know by now, and it's completely fine. What makes a difference is what you're going to do about it.
I have my moment of being scared and pushing through.
Overcoming fears, the fear of wild camping, makes you grow as a person, and what you do in the field also extrapolate to your daily life. If you overcome your fear of wild camping, it makes you a more confident person, and that's going to show in your daily life as well. So you have a bit of a motivation there, because not only you will end up doing the things you love and you will end up enjoying them, but at the same time it's going to have an impact on your daily life. So I think it's killing two birds with one shot. That's awesome, isn't it? While doing the Scottish National Trail, there were nights where I was living in a remote area, especially the night of the Cairngorms, but other nights too. And it happened more at the beginning, because obviously towards the end I got a bit more used to it. But yeah, I was afraid several nights, especially because I've never heard deers. Threatening each other or talking, whatever they were doing. I've never heard that. It was the first time in my life. And at night, fears amplify. The deers seemed to me to be either getting close to my tent, as if they were gonna come to the tent and attack me, or go figure what. The scary noises they made, I got afraid. So I remember I was like holding on my knife, and then I had my hammer handy, you know. But here's an example of how I dealt with it. It's called self-talk. When you talk to yourself.
The deer were fighting, and they were making sort of scary noises. But I told myself that here I'm the predator, so that's fine. I'm the human, so they should stay away from me, and I better do it. Otherwise, I make steak for dinner.
So what can you do about it? Okay, so the first thing you need to know is that it's gonna be a gradual process where you make progress little by little. Am I asking you, if you're afraid while camping, to just go out and do it and set off to a remote area and while camp there alone for 15 days until you're not afraid? No, I'm not asking you to do that. Of course, you can just go and expose to whatever fear you have, and maybe you overcome it at once, but maybe also it traumatizes you and you never try again. So you just better approach it as a gradual process. You also have to know that, I'm sorry to say, it's gonna be an uncomfortable process. Why? Because every time we step out of our comfort zone, we feel uncomfortable. Now, there's a number of things you can do that will give you the motivation or the strength to sort of offset this discomfort. One of them is to do things gradually and take little steps one at a time. Another thing is to know the reason why you want to overcome your fears. Another thing to help you offset the discomfort is to know that anxiety, discomfort, whatever you're feeling, it's a gradual process that has a peak, and like everything in life, if it goes up, it tends to go down, right? So it helps if you know that if you hold on to it and you stick to it, at some point the discomfort will gradually cease. Remember, it's gradual, it's little by little, and it will take time. What you can do is create a list of those things that make you afraid. And then you're going to organize it from the thing that frightens you the least to the thing that frightens you the most. Once you have that, you're going to start facing those minor little fears, and then you're going to walk your way up to the things that makes you more afraid, up to wild camping fear, because that's the one you target. Why then are we facing things that are not so frightening to us? Well, it's because it's easier to face small fears, and by doing that, you gain confidence and you become better at the process of facing your fears, you see? So this will help you when the time comes to face the real wild camp fear. Another thing you can do is to first approach this in your mind. Is what is called mental rehearsal. So what you're going to do, once you walk your way up the list and you reach the wild camp fear, you first think of it in your mind, you visualize it. You create like a script as if you were going to make a movie or a YouTube video. You create a script and you see yourself going through the situation that you create. For example, let's say that you're planning on doing the CWT and you're going to end up camping, I don't know, in the middle of one of the mountain passes. So you need to see yourself being afraid, because fear is an emotion. So you need to put a lot of emphasis in the emotions that you are feeling while you're visualizing. So how do you just go about it? So you can just sit down. It doesn't matter if you close your eyes or you open. What counts here is that you use your imagination to follow a sort of a script where you will see yourself going through the fear, feeling that fear, what you're going to do about it, and how you're going to overcome it. So what you need to prepare at home as well is the things you're going to be telling yourself when you are in the situation. And that's why practicing at home when everything is under control helps, because then you can memorize those things you will be telling yourself when you are in the middle of the situation. So I'm going to tell you a few things that I told myself and that helped me sort of sleep or going through the night in a better way and so on. So some of the things I used to tell me is, you want to be a confident person and you want to enjoy wild camping. So if you keep going, in the end, you're going to overcome this fear. So stick to it. Worry only when the situation happens. Now you're just worrying about the thought. It doesn't exist, it's irrational. You just worry when the thing happens. And until then, I just have an agreement with myself that I will not worry about things that have not occurred and that only exist in my mind. Stop anticipating. Let's cross the bridge when we get to the bridge, or let's cross the bridge when we get there. So basically, you just tailor-made a few sentences that you think will help you stand the situation and keep going, because you're going to need it. You know, the way we talk to ourselves causes a massive impact in the way we behave and in the way we face things. For example, it's not the same if I keep telling myself that, oh, I hope no one comes out of the blue and kills me, or oh, maybe a deer is gonna come and just I'll be sleeping and then what's gonna happen to me, than if I tell myself, come on, let's face it, have you ever heard of anybody being attacked while he was wild camping in the middle of nowhere in Scotland? No. Or have you ever heard of someone being attacked by a deer while he was sleeping in his tent? No. So in a way, you try to use logical reasons to counter-argue those irrational fears. Just be creative. And again, you need to tailor-made it because we are all different. So the things that I used to tell myself will probably not work for you because it's something very specific. But you get the picture. So the whole thing is, you practice at home, you see it in your mind, you see yourself going through the situation, and you will see yourself being afraid in the tent, unable to sleep, and thinking of this and that. So what that this and that is, it will be specific to you and to every person. So you need to write down those things that you think are more likely for you to think or are more likely for your mind to create. You write them down and then you try to create a sentence that you will use to counter-argue that, and then you practice it. So you see yourself, oh man, the deers are going to attack me. Say, come on man, the deers, I'm the freaking predator here. I'm going to destroy all those deers. You write it down and you know what to tell yourself, and you will get the feeling because you will feel better when you tell you these things. So those are the things you need to know in advance. So then you practice that in your mind, and when you feel confident that, oh, I think I can do it, then maybe it's time to do it. Now, remember that it has to be gradual principle. Don't just go to the mountain pass in the CWT. Now, what you should do instead is get a friend and go to a campsite, and you take it from there. It will be different for everybody because some people are afraid only of wild camping if they're alone. So you need to adjust things to your own fear. But I can see how some people may have to start going with a friend, go to a campsite, it will be more gradual. Then from the campsite, going to a place near a campsite or near a city that they may feel more protected. And from there, gradually walk their way towards the mountain pass in the middle of nowhere. Now, if you're only afraid of wild camp when you're alone, you need to utilize the same principle, but you just going to be alone. You try to make little steps and you gain the confidence gradually, and at some point you get there, like everything in life. Throughout the process, you need to keep reminding yourself why you're doing that, because again, you need to remember and be aware of the discomfort you're going to be feeling. So you need to observe yourself and say, oh, I feel super uncomfortable, and take a step back and say, well, yeah, because I'm afraid, that's why I feel uncomfortable. It's a part of this process, but I know that this discomfort is going to end if I just go through the process. I just need time. These things you tell yourself are going to help you a lot, and being aware of the process. And again, take a few steps back. Some people call it the balcony view. You go to the balcony and observe yourself and say, whoa, he's pretty afraid, she's pretty afraid.
I was afraid up until now, basically, or a few minutes ago. If I were with somebody else, with a buddy, with someone that knows what he's doing, I wouldn't be afraid. But since I'm alone and all I know what to do is go forward, well, so I get afraid.
So it helps you because you become aware of your emotions and your situation, so that you can choose acting instead of reacting to your fears.
I have kind of a bit of a feeling of achievement because despite the fear, I kept going.
So having control over the fear is better than being controlled by the fear. So then is when you again start telling yourself those sentences that you prepare at home, and you say, now wait a minute, fear is in my mind, and then you just look around and say, oh, wait a second, is there any deer attacking me so far? Yeah, maybe I heard this and that, but as far as I'm aware, there's no one attacking my tent. It's just in my mind. I'm afraid. Nighttime amplifies fears, so I just have everything against me. So I choose to face my fears, and I'm going to overcome my fears. And if I go through this, I'm gonna make it like many other people. And remember that facing that fear is going to make you better at facing other fears as well. And facing that fear is going to make you more confident, not only when you go hiking, but also in your daily life. And if that's something you like to be, a confident person, well, then you have something to motivate yourself, to tell yourself, now you know what, I'm gonna face my wild camping fear because I want to be a strong, confident person. All these sort of positive thoughts are going to help you. So I hope my explanations were clear, and I really hope they're going to help you go out and try wild camp at some point and enjoy it, because it's a lovely activity. And not only obviously wild camping, but everything around wild camping, not only the hiking, but the lovely people you meet on the trails, etc. I hope this video helps. If you have any doubt, just write it down in the comment section down below. I always get back to people. And well, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the trails. Bye.